Hi everyone, this is Justyna Lorkowska from Let Us Knits, or Justyna Knits, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a little excited because today, this is my first episode in English, and today I will be talking about my newest round yoke design, which is called Beltane, the yarn I used, and how you can use a color wheel to pick your colors, and also how I actually name my patterns. So grab something warm to drink, grab a cupcake if you have one, and your knitting needles, and let's talk yarn. This sweater is inspired by a Celtic spring festival, Beltane, and as you can see, it features lots of leaves around the yoke, the ferrule yoke. And in my defense, I started the sweater in spring, and even though I'm publishing it in December, I still feel the name matches the sweater. I think it works really well with the autumnal colors and the leaves, so I think the name is okay. The sweater is, as you can see, it's a top-down sweater, and it starts at the neck, and it features shirt rows on the back. At the bottom, there is also a little bit of ferrule. To me, in my mind, it made the sweater complete. The instructions that I provide in the pattern are for short sleeves, but if you'd like to, you can absolutely create regular type of sleeves, and you can also put the ferrule bottom chart around the cuffs, the sleeve cuff. So what was the favorite part of the sweater for me? I think it's every time the same. For me, the best part about ferrule round yoke sweater is the round yoke with ferrule, because, well, you know, colors. It's not very oversized, but it's relaxed fit with a little bit of positive ease at full bust. And this makes the sweater very comfortable. What yarn? All right, yarn lovers, what yarn did I use? So the sweater is 100% me made. So I created the pattern, I made the sample, and I also dyed the yarn for this design. The yarn I used is the yarn that I dye, and it's called Dora DK, and that's 85% merino, very, very soft, and 15% nylon. Nylon is added for the sturdiness so that the yarn or the sweater doesn't get worn out very, very fast. And I used 4 colors. Actually, I have only 3 here because the brown one needs to be dyed again, and I don't have any brown at the moment in my stock, but I will be dyeing more. So this is the base color. It's called Rust. This color is beautiful. I love how it looks. It's very, very rich. The brown, unfortunately, you can only see here. It's pretty dark brown. It's called Pine Cone. And then I have 2 other colors that are pretty close to each other, but I loved them together, and I really, really wanted to use those 4 together in a sweater. So those 3 colors plus the brown. So if you want alternatives, you can use any other DK weight yarn that has similar yardage. So that would be around 225 meters per 100 grams of yarn. So if your stash is frighteningly large, which I'm sure it is, you can just stash dive and you don't have to use the yarn that I used. However, if you'd like to use the yarn that I used, I will be putting pre-order to my shop, CicelyGroveYarns.com. So how do I name patterns? So there is a system. It's a very, very chaotic one, but there is a system. Sometimes I get inspired by the motif that's going to be featured on a sweater, on a shawl, on a hat, and I look for some mystical, magical names that might match the design. Other times, when I hear a word that I like, I just type it down in my notes. I do have a folder with the possible pattern names. Sometimes these can be like real names that I see somewhere in the street. Like I have a couple of designs that were actually named by real places, or a shawl called Lothian. And if you've been to Edinburgh, you probably know that, well, that name is closely related to Edinburgh in Scotland. Sometimes these are names that I like actual names of people I met. And sometimes these are just some random names that stick in my mind and they just stay. And yeah, if the name of a sweater or a shawl sounds good at 2 a.m., sometimes it just stays. So this is super funny, or maybe not so funny for me, but yesterday when I was uploading everything to my computer, I somehow lost half of the recording. So I'm going to be talking about the color wheel like that. For this sweater or any other kind of garment, shawl, anything you want, you can either go with your gut and have fun and pick any colors you want, or I can show you how to use a color wheel. Apart from the ones that are somewhere hanging on the wall, I do have a color wheel like that, which is a bit more complicated, but this one actually shows pretty well how to pick colors from the color wheel. And there is one more that looks like a keychain. It's actually pretty handy because I can put it in my pocket when I go shopping for yarn. And I do also have various ways of picking colors. You can see the colors on a color wheel are put in a spectrum, okay? And on the other side, I also have the colors which are divided by their value, if they become a shade, tone, or tint. So first what you need to do is decide which color is going to be your base color. My base color is the rust, okay? So this is where I would be starting. For me, that was sort of red, orange, okay? So if I put my wheel like that, I can either use this color or use this color, depending on how it looks to me, okay? So let's just say it's red, orange. And as you can see here, I have some arrows. So there are a couple of rules, some basic rules that are easy to remember that you can use, for example, when you go shopping or when you stash dive and pick your color. The most popular one is the complementary one, which is where you pick the opposites on the color wheel. So that from red, orange, that would be here blue, green. Well, as you can see, I do not have the blue, green. I just have this light green. So that's not an option for me, okay? And if I go with the orange, so I'm picking orange. This is the one that I'm setting as the key color. The opposite, again, is blue, and I did not want to use the blue. If you pick the opposite, it generally means that the contrast between those colors will be the greatest, okay? It will be the most visible. So coming back, the complementary one was not for me. And I really wanted to use the colors that I had. I do not have the brown again. I wanted to use the colors that I had. And as you can see on the color wheel, they are pretty close because here I have the orange, I have the yellow, and I have the green. So it's sort of like orange, yellow, and the green. I did also have the brown one, and the brown one on the color wheel, you cannot find it. But when you learn how brown is created, you will realize that brown is very, very close to the middle of the wheel. So we could treat it like a sort of an option of orange. So then again, it would be somewhere in here or somewhere in here. And I used orange, yellow, and green, and that's another scheme. This one is called analogous. So analogous one uses the neighboring colors. Then you can also have other schemes for picking colors. As you can see here, you have the ones that can use the shape of a triangle or a rectangle or a square. So you put that figure onto your wheel, and one of the angles has to be the main color, and that main color is going to determine how you move that figure on the color wheel. So triadic, for example, is the one that uses a triangle. So that would be orange, and you have to have the same distance between the other angles. So that would be the green and violet. I did not use the violet, so that was an option. And the same thing applies to this little thingy. When I pick the color, I do have the same. So analogous one, here are 4 options of colors. Analogous one is the one where you have neighbors. Then you have complementary one where you have the opposites. And triadic one where you have the triangle. I hope that helps a little bit. There is one more thing that you need to remember is the contrast in value. What does it mean? It means that even though these colors are different, if they have the same value, the contrast between them may be blurred. This is the thing that you see on my sweater. I actually wanted it like that. I really liked that the contrast between the colors was very subtle, and I didn't want it to be very like out there into my eyes. Just take away the colors from the picture, and you will realize that some of them, in black and white picture, they blur, which means they have the same value. And if you have very big patterning, it may be okay. But if you're working with a very small repeat of ferile, that can mean that sometimes these colors can just disappear from a distance. I hope that helped. And there was a lot more that I wanted to say, but oh well, sometimes it has to be like that. Bye!